Hi everyone, welcome to this week. We have a little bit of a hodgepodge this week: subordinate clauses in indirect statement and impersonal verbs. All right. So, this is a lot of these slides are from your textbook. All right. The basic idea is that any subordinate clause in an indirect statement will use the subjunctive rather than the infinitive. So at this point, let's review indirect statement. So on the top here, these are your three requirements for indirect statement. You need that infinitive, the accusative that's going to be the subject of the infinitive, and some sort of head verb that's going to introduce the indirect statement. So you can see that down here. So here's my head verb, here's my subject accusative, here's my infinitive. Head verb, accusative, infinitive. Head verb, accusative, infinitive. Head verb, accusative, infinitive. Okay, so the idea is that if I add a subordinate clause here, they are glad that we are coming. Let's actually find a better one. We believe that they, who are our enemies, are fighting. The who are our enemies, that's that subordinate clause in indirect statement, and that would be in the subjunctive. All right, the are would be a subjunctive. All right. So again, just a review of indirect statement. These are just the different tenses or tense combinations. Remember that indirect statement uses that sequence of tense, which is a relative tense. Remember that the perfect infinitive is time before, the present infinitive is same time, and the future infinitive is time after. All right. And those relationships don't change. The translation changes slightly based on the tense of the main verb, and you can see that here and here. All right. Okay, so here are the subordinate clauses. You can see, all right, here's our head verb, here's our subject accusative, and here's our infinitive, and here is our subordinate clause. All right, and that pugnent, right, pugno pugnare, first conjugation verb, that pugnent is the subjunctive verb in that subordinate clause. All right. Okay, down here, all right, these are technically indirect questions, but it still uses the subjunctive, all right, because the verb of the clause, the indirect question is subjunctive, and then it's what's called attracted to it. All right, so the subjunctive in the indirect question essentially creates another subjunctive in that subordinate clause. The infinitive in indirect statement, it can't do that because, of course, you don't have a subject or clear enough subject with the infinitive. All right, so here is an example. All right, so the relative clause above contain an indicative or subjunctive verb. All right, and then why is that? All right, so here's qui nesciat. That ia is going to be subjunctive. All right, and with that infinitive here, right, that is going to be that subordinate clause in indirect statement. All right, so that's really it for subordinate clauses in indirect statement. They're not very common, and they're pretty straightforward. There's nothing to learn. It's just a question of identifying them and recognizing that that's why it's subjunctive. Shifting gears a little bit, moving to impersonal constructions, and again, these are from your textbook. Okay, there are certain verbs that essentially have it as the subject. Okay, so licet is a more common one. It is permitted, right? So the standard Latin one, kind of question, licetne mihi ira ad latrinam. Can I go to the bathroom? Is it permitted to me to go to the bathroom? Okay. Technically speaking, the it, of course, is a pronoun. And what the it is doing is essentially taking the place of the infinitive that comes after the permitted in English. So is it permitted to me to go to the bathroom? Or really what's being permitted is to go to the bathroom, the action of going to the bathroom. So these impersonal constructions, these impersonal verbs really take infinitives as subjects, but English prefers to translate them with it as the subject and then the infinitive coming afterwards. All right, so you'll often, though not always, see an infinitive with some of these constructions. So you can see that here. We do an expected infinitive. All right. And then you've got some phrases. right, that are sort of the same thing. It is right, it is wrong. Again, the it is replacing something. All right, and then a noun result clause. This is just going to be a clause, but a subjunctive clause rather than an infinitive. Okay, you kind of have to memorize these verbs, or at least recognize that these verbs are the impersonal verbs. There's nothing about their grammar other than the presence of, say, the infinitive or the subjunctive clauses that indicates that they are impersonal, so you do have to study those and memorize those. All right, so King's College in Pennsylvania, they have an impersonal verb in their motto. All right, so portet eam regnare. It is fitting to rule him. All right, to kind of rule the person. Not quite sure why that's their motto, to be honest. All right, here is a text. Martial is a Silver Age poet, a Roman Silver Age poet. So there are 3 impersonal verbs. All right, so liquid right there in the first line. Can you find the others? Contigit, I should say, and licet. All right, so the tense of each. So licet, present. Contigit, perfect. And liquid, perfect. All right, and you can see with liquid, there's the infinitive, contingere. All right, so that's really it. Not a lot for this week, so let's take the summatives. All right, so we are translating the passage. All right, ubi de eas adventu helvetii certiores facti sunt, legatus ad eam mittunt nobilissimos civitatis. All right, so when, concerning his arrival, the Helvetii became more certain. So when the Helvetii became more certain about his arrival, legatus ad eam mittunt, they send legates, ambassadors, to him. All right, and I should actually say they send legates, the most noble of the state, to him. All right, since we're relatively short, let me just make sure. Yep, since we're relatively short, I'll leave the rest for you. And then the writing. So we're just translating these words or phrases into Latin. All right. So let me get the pen. So it is necessary. Necessa est. It happens. Accidit. All right, and I'll leave the rest for you. All right, have a good week. Please email me if you have any questions, and I will be here next week. Thanks.